Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are strapping in for one of the most high-stakes, lore-dense explorations we have ever attempted.
I think that's an understatement.
We are diving deep into the recently available excerpts of Crowntide, and we're analyzing a narrative moment of, well, total cosmic crisis.
Yeah.
If you thought the stakes couldn't get any higher after the last great battle, you were very, very wrong.
It's true. We're not just talking about, a regional conflict or a small war. We are talking about the fabric of the universe fraying at the edges. This material gives us a stunning, almost overwhelming influx of lore.
Absolutely. Our mission today is sort of a rescue operation for you, the listener. We need to quickly organize and truly understand the critical turning points, the history driving this central conflict, and, most importantly, the impossible existential choices facing our core trio: Isla Crown, Cronan Malvere, and Ray.
Yeah, and these sources, they detail their internal lives, their deepest shames, the history of their world, but it comes at you like a tidal wave of pain and inescapable prophecy.
It really does.
And the context we start in, it couldn't be more dire or, more immediate. The central figure, Isla Crown, has just executed this massive sacrificial play, and she has vanished. She stepped into the abyss to save everyone from Lightlark Crown's destruction.
And that one act, that disappearance, has instantly plunged their entire world, and potentially every other world they know, toward total destruction.
Which then forces former rivals, Grimm and Oro, who, let's be honest, despise each other,
Oh, completely.
into this precarious, deeply uneasy alliance. And it's all driven by one singular, overwhelming goal:
Getting her back.
getting her back. And the underlying themes here are just vast. We're looking at sacrifice, duty, the unbearable weight of history, and fundamentally love as this double-edged universal power.
Right. It's both a curse and an infinite source of strength at the same time.
Exactly. And weaving through all of it is the terrifying, newly complicated weight of prophecy.
So let's unpack the immediate human and emotional cost of Isla's sacrifice, because the sources dedicate a lot of space to the fallout. She vanishes at the charred center of the maze, having seemingly given her life to contain Lark's destruction. And the impact on Grimm is profound.
It's more than profound, it's shattering. And it's shattering precisely because of who Grimm is. We see a side of Cronan Malvere, the demon ruler of Nightshade, that Ray explicitly notes he never thought he would see.
Yeah, this is a character defined by ruthlessness, by control.
Right. And yet we find him crying, staring into the ash where Isla vanished, holding only a single, fragile feather remnant.
He is physically devastated, but the sources emphasize that his resolve is instant. It's absolute. He's driven by this unwavering conviction that she is not truly gone, even if he doesn't know where she is.
And that conviction, it fuels this terrifying vow. He promises the night sky, nothing in this universe can keep me from you. And the truly chilling part is, I will rip down the constellations themselves to see you again.
And when a Nightshade ruler makes a promise like that, you need to understand that is not hyperbole.
Not at all. That is a threat of universal destruction if his mission fails. This is a man who spent centuries suppressing all emotion after the deaths of his sister and siblings, acting only as his father's sword. And now he's completely undone by love and loss.
And while Grimm's grief manifests as this, destructive promise, Oro's is internal. It's quieter, but it's equally existential. He feels her absence as a literal, physical gap in his soul.
Yeah, the sources note he struggles not to go hollow beneath the grief. He has to force himself to ignite his own strength, often through physical pain, just to overcome the sheer panic.
That's a crucial distinction, isn't it? Grimm responds with destructive rage and focus.
And Oro responds with self-control, forcing himself into action. But both men, despite their rivalry, despite their deeply contrasting styles, they're both dealing with an existential level of loss. Their connection to Isla is that fundamental to their identities.
And we get a primal reflection of this loss in her bonded creature, Lynx, the enormous panther. And the description is just heartbreaking.
Inconsolable. He's described as inconsolable, roaring and scraping at the exact spot where she vanished, as if he's trying to dig her back out of the earth himself.
That detail is so necessary because it emphasizes that this loss isn't just, a political or romantic setback.
No, it's a physical, primal bond that has been violently ripped apart across dimensions. It's an immediate signal to you, the listener, that the sacrifice was total.
But the sources also give Grimm a reason, a very specific one, to believe she's alive. And we had to talk about the life bond and the ultimate failsafe he secured for her, the infinite diamond.
That's right. So Grimm and Isla, they share a very direct life tie. His survival hinged on hers, and vice versa. However, he knew from the start that the tie he made was only a temporary solution.
Just a stopgap.
Exactly. A stopgap against the curse. And he recognized he needed something permanent, something transcendent, to truly save her life forever. And this brings us directly to the most dangerous item in the universe.
The infinite diamond. We learn it's the most powerful object in the universe, an ancient, sentient power, and it's clasped around Isla's neck. Grimm had secured it, intending it as, a traditional gift for his wife because she deserved only the most powerful stone.
And the lore around him claiming this stone is horrific. I mean, this wasn't some simple fetch quest. The island of Atlas, where Infinite resides, is guarded by pain and memory. Everyone who previously tried to claim it was killed in the process.
Right, including his own father.
Grimm's own father, the previous Nightshade ruler, was cursed until the end of his days just for trying to reach it. So Grimm risked everything, specifically to keep Isla alive for good, believing the stone might be the only thing powerful enough to make their life bond permanent. The sources confirm they shared a very soul.
What stands out here is the stunning, gut-wrenching irony of it all. The thing he risked his life and sanity for, this ultimate protection, may be exactly what sealed her doom.
It's a devastating concern that Oro raises. The diamonds is bound by Isla's marriage oath to Grimm and can only be released with her death.
Which means Cronin, the ultimate antagonist, doesn't just want Isla.
He wants the diamond. And if Cronin finds her, the diamond becomes the immediate, inevitable target. So Grimm's act of absolute love and protection is also the ultimate attractor for universal evil.
And this inherent danger, it immediately fractures the already fragile alliance. They go straight into this philosophical dispute about whether the world is better off without the diamond's host.
This is where Zed, the perpetually irritating but often politically pragmatic Skyling, voices the cruel question. Is the world better off without her?
He fears her status. He fears her wearing infinite.
Exactly. She possesses this immense historical power, which has only ever brought disaster to Lightlark through prophecy. She is a magnet for conflict.
So Zed is basically worried she's too powerful, too tied to fate, and just too much of a liability. He's arguing that, while the sacrifice was noble, maybe they shouldn't reverse it.
And then Calder, the pragmatic moonling, he intervenes with a realpolitik argument. He dismisses Zed's fears and focuses on utility.
Right. They need her back precisely because of her power and the diamond. They need that capability to fight the greater threat.
And then Enya, who's the most grounded of the group, introduces the chilling outside context fear. They aren't the only ones debating this. Others, specifically Cronan, the long-banished Nightshade ruler, might want that power for themselves. Her absence is a universal invitation.
Which immediately frames the mission not just as a rescue,
but as retrieving the ultimate, potentially world-ending weapon that is currently tied to the one person they all care about. It forces them to confront a terrifying reality. They have to save her, knowing that saving her might bring about the prophecy and the ultimate destruction they fear.
To really understand Grimm's current obsession and his capacity for sacrifice, we have to look back at the journey he took to claim infinite. The climb of regret on the island of Atlas. This isn't just an anecdote. This is like the core of his redemption story.
This journey gives us so much insight into how the ruthless Demon King was formed and how he was fundamentally changed by Isla. He recounts the physical impossibility of even reaching Atlas. He tried to portal, but couldn't pierce the ancient shield.
So he had to paddle through ice-cold, punishing water to this jagged rock shore.
Right, and the journey itself wasn't designed to test muscle, but to test his emotional core. The jagged wall he had to climb was designed to inflict a psychological agony. It made him confront everything he had spent centuries deliberately suppressing.
For centuries, Grimm was defined by his role as his father's sword. He admits living without remorse, or feeling as a necessary survival mechanism.
It was how he coped with the deaths of his sister Layla and his other siblings. This climb forces him to relive every death he caused, every mistake from his centuries as an emotionless warrior.
He describes this one visceral memory, gutting a man who looked down at him with pure and utter sadness, a man who just accepted his death. And Grimm admits he lived without feeling because the alternative was
regret and pain so fierce he wouldn't be able to withstand it.
The island wall acts as a conduit for his shame. He feels the regret sinking below his ribs, almost physically pulling him down. The wall ripples. It transforms into a tunnel of distorted, amplified memories, smothered screams, pleas for mercy, the faces of those he killed.
It was meant to break him, to force him to give up the quest for power.
And yet, he endures. The sources are very clear on his anchor. He explicitly states that Isla's love acts like a shield, protecting him from his worst self. It's the one thing he didn't feel regret for, the one thing pure enough to withstand this acid bath of his past.
This grueling internal battle lasted, well, an unknowable amount of time. Hours, maybe days. And when he finally reaches the summit, the memories are personified. They force a direct confrontation with his deepest trauma.
He hears the voice of his sister, Layla, the one who told him about the diamond in the first place.
And she asks if he still feels guilty for what he did to her. And this isn't just guilt over violence, it's guilt over his personal failures that led to her death.
And the island's voice then asks the definitive, defining question. Why? Why would he risk this total, all-consuming pain? Why risk everything he is to reach this power?
And his answer is absolute. It's simple, and it's revolutionary for his character arc. Because I love her, which means I will do anything to save her.
Notice he doesn't answer with duty or power or political necessity.
No, he answers with a vulnerable confession of love. And that declaration, the acceptance of vulnerability, is what shifts the nature of the test.
And here's where the climb becomes infinitely more complex. It shifts from his past to Isla's past. The test forces him to endure her painful memories, trying to make him reject her darkest self.
It's a targeted psychological attack. He witnesses the death of countless wildlings and the entire village Isla decimated under the influence of her curse, turning hundreds of people to ash. The island's voice, it's shrill with cruelty. It calls her this blight and a monster.
It reinforces all the negative labels Isla has internalized her entire life. The challenge is clear. Can he love the monster? Can he accept the unforgivable acts the woman he loves committed?
And Grimm's rebuttal here is the absolute culmination of his redemption arc. He recognizes the island's manipulation and just dismisses it. He declares his love is complete. It encompasses everything.
He laughs at the attempts to divide him.
He does. He asserts, I love her at her weakest, at her strongest, and her best, at her worst. Ours is not a perfect love, but a bleeding one. I love her for everything she is and everything she isn't, and that is why our love is infinite.
That phrase, a bleeding one, that is incredibly powerful. It suggests that love isn't perfect or clean. It's messy, it's scarred, painful. It requires constant work and acceptance of trauma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The test was looking for, what? Purity of power, purity of intention. But Grimm offers messy, complicated, unconditional acceptance of shared damage. And that statement, the perfect declaration of acceptance of imperfection, is what satisfies the ancient sentient test.
So the diamond, the most powerful object in the universe, is claimed not through power or ruthlessness or ambition,
but through an utterly vulnerable, perfect declaration of unconditional love. It fundamentally redefines what infinite truly means in this universe.
It transforms the diamond from a weapon of power into an artifact of fidelity. It's a brilliant narrative move that reframes the stakes of their relationship. So now we flip the perspective and jump dimensions to Isla's experience in Skyshade. She made the sacrifice believing she was going to a place of power, a place where she could fix things. Instead,
she arrives in the other world and finds only ash and ruin. And this environment is immediately hostile to her. The sources describe Skyshade operating like a physical vice upon her bones, instantly draining her strength.
And Cronin, the exiled antagonist, has placed a specific sheen on the entire planet that blocks abilities,
which renders Isla, the most powerful person in history, virtually powerless. She notes she can't even lift Cronin's own heavy sword.
This loss of power is so critical, it makes her extremely vulnerable immediately after her grand, powerful sacrifice. She is captured by scavengers in gray tunics who inexplicably do possess power in this place,
which suggests they're aligned with or protected by Cronin's magic.
And the description of her capture and transport is just horrific.
Well, it is. They drag her through the silver and black desert, pushing carts carrying mangled bodies. The sources suggest these are people who were caught between portals and ripped apart. This is Cronin's testing ground, a place of impossible, agonizing death. It really emphasizes the stakes of interdimensional travel and the cruelty of their enemy.
Even in her weakened state, though, Isla retains her combat instincts. She manages a small act of defiance, stealing a small dagger from one of her captors. But she quickly realizes she is not alone. Her ancestor, Lightlark Crown,
the source of the recent universal destruction, is also here. Lark is convulsing and screeching, still regenerating from Isla's blow, but noticeably slower than she did on Lightlark.
And that's the first piece of good news, right? Cronin's influence, while crippling to Isla, is also slowing the regeneration of the previous antagonist.
Exactly. And this sets the stage for the enormous, devastating reveal of Cronin's master plan. We learn that he, the most powerful Nightshade in history, reveals that Isla is his Worldkey.
He wasn't just interested in the diamond. He needed her to open the universe.
Cronin's goal isn't just control of Lightlark, it's universal conquest. And we get a crucial backstory here. Cronin was banished from Isla's world long ago. When he tried to claim Infinite, the Diamond Grim eventually won. The diamond cursed him.
It made Lightlark a poison for him, meaning he couldn't physically return without suffering immense pain or death.
And this is where Isla's unique status becomes his tool. Isla, wearing Infinite and possessing all 6 abilities, she is the perfect combination. She is the physical key to his safe return and subsequent conquest.
If Infinite is physically wielded by her alongside his stolen sword and his crown, he gains the power to rule everything.
And here is the crushing, heartbreaking narrative pivot that hits you, the listener, hardest. Cronin reveals that Grim has been his pawn all along.
That detail is immense. It recontextualizes Grimm's entire narrative arc leading up to this point. Cronin happily explains to Isla that Grimm spent months searching for and claiming the ancestors' necessary components, like Cronin's ancestral sword,
Believing he was saving his realm and his wife. In reality, he was unknowingly serving Cronin's grand, universal design, gathering the ingredients for his return. Imagine the psychological devastation of that realization for both Isla and, later, for Grim.
The Nightshade ruler, who prides himself on ruthless control and strategy, was manipulated by his predecessor into building the tool for his own downfall.
And since Infinite is an ancient sentient power that must choose to be claimed, Cronin can't just rip it off Isla's neck. So his entire strategy pivots to controlling the wielder. He initiates the torture of the mind.
He plunges his shadows directly into her consciousness, intending to shape your mind into whatever I need and turn her into his compliant, powered weapon. This is where her internal fortitude is truly tested, far beyond any physical duel.
But Isla is a survivor. Even when physically weak, she fights back mentally. She creates a mental fortress built of iron stones forged from her love for everyone she had left behind.
So the love Grimm championed as Infinite becomes her ultimate shield and resistance tool.
And Cronin's genius lies in targeting her core trauma, the very things that made her feel unworthy of love. He twists key memories, including her first innocent friendship with Celeste, the Starling ruler. He reminds her of the immense cost of that relationship.
And he hits her where her sense of self was destroyed. Her painful, barbaric training under Terra. We get details here that highlight the sheer brutality of her upbringing. Terra saw Isla as inherently unforgivable.
Striking her until she bled, and turning the sacred wood and bone relics from her deceased mother into dust, explicitly teaching her that love was ruinous.
By twisting these memories, Cronin tries to turn her deepest fears and weaknesses into his entry point, shattering her fortress stone by stone.
But Isla's resolve holds. She explicitly states, internally, "I have been caged my entire life. You will not be the one to break me." She uses the pain, ironically, as the material to fortify her defense.
So while Isla is undergoing this mental war, the alliance of convenience back on Lightlark is forced into this high-action, high-stakes cooperation. Grim and Oro are tracking her, led by a compass provided by Cleo.
Who is also helping in the hopes that Isla, who is tethered to the other world, might somehow retrieve her own lost son.
They follow the compass to a sunken isle, miles below the surface, which they quickly realize is an ancient, dark prison.
And this location is critical because the shackle's metal prevents powers from working, not just on the prisoners, but on Grim and Oro just by proximity. They crash deep below the surface and realize they are utterly vulnerable. Grim can't portal, Oro can't fly. Their unique abilities just gut her out.
So they're forced to fight chained, starving, beast-like prisoners side by side, relying solely on pure combat skill and instinct. We're talking about massive creatures, a chained scorpion the size of a carriage.
A scaled beast standing on a pile of skulls. This section is the narrative pressure cooker for their relationship. They are fighting for their lives, often with broken ribs, and they have to protect each other.
Oro, even injured, battles effectively with his daggers and physical agility, earning Grimm's grudging, almost whispered respect.
And there's that wonderful moment where Grim, the ultimate rescuer, saves Oro from the massive scorpion, only for Oro to decide, don't say that.
Right. It confirms their enduring antagonism, even in mutual, reluctant appreciation. They're professionals forced to collaborate, and the audience finally gets to see the raw, unpowered combat prowess of both rulers.
Their successful navigation of the prison leads them to the Lost King, Horus, who is Oro's ancestor. He's tied down by 10 chains, but is peacefully resigned to his fate. And Horus confirms Cronin's plan and reveals immense essential lore. Their world exists on a bridge between galaxies.
A bridge between galaxies. That explains why Cronin wants universal conquest. Horus warns them that history is repeating itself and gives them a definitive mission: break the cycle.
And Horus then provides the key object they need for the rescue, the threads of time. He describes it as a pile of glimmering golden threads,
And he calls it the key to breaking the universe and to saving it.
an object of absolute paradox. He stresses it must get to Isla to right everything.
Horus clarifies the history for them as well, explaining that Cronin created the cursed world, Skyshade, using Lark's power, and that the island that disappeared during the original curses was actually part of that world. The worlds bleed into each other through the storms that once covered the sea.
And here's the truly sobering moment for the two rulers. Horus reveals that he and Cronin were once just boys who, in their own time, killed their parents, just as Isla and Grimm had caused the death of their loved ones, even if it was inadvertent.
The cycle of pain and patricide is ancient.
And this is why he gives them the threads, to finally break that pattern.
Oro immediately uses the threads of time, and this isn't like stepping into a time machine. The sources describe him being flung through thousands of years to see Horus in the past. It's a violent, disorienting experience.
It emphasizes the terrifying power of the object. He only manages to grab a few crucial details about building a safe portal to Skyshade, and those details are stringent.
The requirements are linked sacred waters, a piece of something living from the other world, wildling power, Isla's unique flair, and immense energy, and he's flung back to his present just before he can hear Horus's final warning.
So the essential problem is immediately apparent. They need Isla to access the wildling abilities, but they need the portal to get to her, a total catch-22.
The only way around it is to restore the love bonds, the source of wildling power, which only Grimm and Oro can initiate. So the Alliance pivots to gathering the other ingredients in the meantime. Grimm, using the knowledge he gained about ancestral magic, focuses on the spot where Isla vanished.
And he finds Cronin's Skyer, and we should define that for you. A Skyer is essentially an infinity symbol carved into the maze where Isla disappeared. It reveals Cronin's weakness. It's an ancient symbol of unending power, but here it acts as a magical diagram, showing their enemies' binding points.
They need the piece of something living from Skyshade. This is where their animal companions become essential. Grimm and Oro, forced to put aside their hatred for the sake of the mission, work as a unified team.
Lynx, Isla's panther, uses his superior smell. He is bonded to her, even across dimensions. And Wraith, Grimm's massive dragon, uses his enhanced eyesight to scan the shore. And they eventually find Isla's lost storm ring.
It's a small but vital detail. The ring was likely imbued with the dark, living magic of the tempest she passed through, qualifying it as the necessary piece of something living from Skyshade. It confirms that every object in the sources is potentially a key component.
And finally, the energy source. The immense volatile starling energy comes from Cinder, a powerful young starling who's been seeing the other world in her dreams.
And Cinder is immensely powerful, almost dangerously so. Her energy bursts are described as powerful enough to shatter the air,
forcing Oro to exert equal force just to shield himself. They recognize her power is volatile, perhaps even uncontrolled, but its sheer magnitude makes her the perfect and necessary energy source to crack open a portal between galaxies. They have to rely on a teenager with destructive, uncontrollable power because there is no other option.
While Grimm and Oro are gathering these volatile, deadly components, Isla is undergoing a crucial, necessary transformation in Skyshade. She stumbles upon what is essentially a magical trauma therapy session, the pool of possibilities in the Forgotten Forest.
This is a major turning point in her internal struggle. It's a moment of profound psychological healing that prepares her for the final confrontation. She is led to the silver pool by a mysterious woman. And the pool, it doesn't just reflect her appearance, it reflects her past trauma.
It forces her to confront her barbaric upbringing, allowing her to realize she was forged into a weapon. This is the first time she accepts the truth. She was just a child who was alone and wanted to be loved.
She starts to disentangle the trauma from her identity. And the pool also functions as a connection point to the spiritual realm. It allows her to speak with the souls of those she killed, which leads to a heartbreaking and revelatory reunion with Aurora, the deceased Starling ruler.
And this is where we get the essential lore bomb regarding the curses that started everything. Aurora is revealed to be the woman who cast the curses after being betrayed by two key figures: King Egan, who is Oro's ancestor, and Violet, Aurora's best friend.
This betrayal is the foundation of the universal conflict. Aurora confesses her own soul was split after her parents died. She used that overwhelming loss and betrayal to feed her power, teetering between good and evil, eventually casting the world-shattering curses.
The complexity here is that the antagonist who created the cursed world wasn't inherently evil. She was a victim of immense personal heartbreak who weaponized her pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this moment of shared, complex trauma, the splitting of the soul between light and dark, between love and immense power, allows Isla to gain crucial strategic intelligence about Cronin.
Aurora reveals that Cronan's power is not inherent to him. It's bound to an object, much like Lark's feather was.
And if that object is destroyed, Cronin would become vulnerable. This is the weakness Isla needed to find, the Achilles heel of the universal conqueror.
Isla then uses the pool's clarity to talk to her deceased parents, realizing that because of her wildling flair, her unique connection to the natural world, their souls actually live within her. This is a massive internal strength boost.
And her mother delivers the powerful, necessary message that directly counters her lifetime of self-loathing and Terra's brutal training. She says, "You have had the weight of fate on you since the day you were born. Endure, Isla. Every world is better with you in it."
That external validation, coupled with her internal clarity, gives Isla the focus to strategize. She decides exactly how she will defeat Cronin.
While Isla is healing, Oro manages to use his connection to the sacred waters and the threads of time to visit Isla in her mind through the pool. This communication is brief, agonizing, and profound.
And the pool, which speaks in universal truths, tells Aura something devastating. That in every possible future, he and Isla fall in love.
Right. Even though she has repeatedly chosen Grimm, that inherent fated attraction remains, adding fuel to his hope, but also agonizing doubt because she always chooses Grimm in the present.
And the final prophetic twist comes from a new character, Azul. We should clarify that Azul is an ancient being, often referenced as the living nexus of fate and prophecy, possessing deep knowledge of time and destiny. He is the one who interprets the true meaning of the threads they are weaving.
And Azul suggests that the prophecy might now be about Oro, not Isla, because of his emotional division. His heart is also torn in two between her and your duty to his realm, Lightlark.
So Isla is torn between two men. Aura is torn between the woman and his entire world. The fate of the world hinges not just on Isla's choice, but on Aura's choice.
The ancient prophecy, "This all ends with a blade through a heart," is now more ambiguous than ever. It's not just a love triangle anymore, it's a destiny triangle.
The stage is now set for the final, brutal confrontation. Isla has her clarity, and Cronin realizes she is resisting his mental penetration. So he unleashes his ultimate, devastating psychological weapon against her only ally, Grimm.
He uses his shadows to successfully erase Grimm's memories of Isla. The sources detail the horror of this transformation. Grimm instantly reverts to his ruthless hunter persona, the emotionless weapon he was for centuries, and views Isla with contempt.
You are nothing to me. You are no one.
He sees a target, not a wife.
So Isla now faces this terrible high-stakes reversal. She has to use pure strategy, seduction, and psychological warfare to get her husband back, fully aware that if she fails, he will kill her without hesitation.
She initiates the complex, dangerous process of memory restoration. She applies the Skyer, that circle Grimm had unknowingly carved into his own skin, using it as a magical anchor. She reveals their life bond. "If I die, you die," using that survival instinct to destabilize his blank slate.
The confrontation culminates in a duel in the shifting, dynamic landscape of the Forgotten Forest. The environment itself mirrors the drama, transforming around them to reflect their shared history. The hidden cave where they first connected, the Nightbane field, the dragon fight.
She's forcing him to navigate their past physically. She forces Grimm to confront their shared memories, their first kiss, the travel, his sacrifices for her, their shared trauma and healing. And the turning point comes when Isla drops her sword.
She leaves herself completely defenseless.
Ultimate vulnerability. She touches him and says only the word that saved his life on Atlas.
Their love is infinite.
That single word, that culmination of his climb of regret, is the key. The sheer physical act of touching her and hearing the word that defines their bond breaks the mental shield Cronin created. Grimm's shadow sword falls. He acknowledges her with devastating clarity and pain. "I do," I see. The memories fled back.
Now they're aligned, so Isla executes her strategic counterattack. She reveals Cronin's weakness. His power is bound to his crown, a galaxy-domed structure, a detail she intentionally allowed Cronin access to her mind to find.
It was a Trojan horse maneuver. She endured the pain just to find the weak spot.
Cronin is enraged. He forces Isla's hand to stab Grim, triggering a moment of final choice. But Isla survives Cronin's killing blow due to the focus and inner strength she gained from the pool of possibilities.
She unleashes this massive burst of silver energy, throwing Cronin across the room. She uses her power to smash his crown, noting that it was fused with her mother's charm, the charm of future sight, stolen by Cronin.
Which just confirms the depth of Cronin's manipulation, stealing fate itself.
With Cronin seizing in agony, Isla focuses on the pool of possibilities, using it as a portal to bring back her allies. The immense power release creates a break in the world, allowing Oro to reach the surface with the portaling device ready to open the gate.
It seems like a momentary victory. Grim is restored, the portal is open, and Cronin is incapacitated. Oro opens the portal back to Skyshade, joined by Cleo, who is waiting, desperately hoping for her son.
But the climax is pure, unadulterated heartbreak and narrative devastation.
It really is. Just as Isla is about to safely cross through the gateway to her allies, Grim, now restored and standing by her side, is targeted again.
Cronin, using his last reserves of power, breaks into Grim's mind again, erasing his memories a second time. This is a cruel, devastating reversal. Grim instantly turns on Isla, his expression blank, now a ruthless enemy once more.
So she's forced to flee through the portal Grim had stabilized, landing back on Lightlark but feeling the crushing, unbearable loss of her husband, knowing she has left a hunter behind.
And Oro, waiting on the other side, is consumed by grief, believing he has lost his chance and that Isla chose Grim once more in the final moment, confirming all his greatest fears about their rivalry.
But before the emotional devastation can set in, the portal shatters and a creature bursts through the tide pool, roaring. The conflict is far from over.
And Isla confirms the new, fluid, and utterly terrifying reality to Oro. Cronin is truly invincible. He cannot be killed without the fabled Heartblade.
Their choices have fractured fate, and destiny is no longer predictable. The sources reiterate the core prophecy. One of the three, Isla, Grim, or Oro, will wield the Heartblade, one will die by it, and one will save or destroy the world. And the source leaves us hanging on the chilling, devastating question, whose? Wow. If that wasn't a masterclass in stacking impossible choices and psychological warfare, I don't know what is. We covered immense ground, from the shock of Isla's disappearance and the terrible irony of the infinite diamond,
to Grim's painful, double reclamation of his soul through love, and Cronin's cosmic weaponization of Isla's past.
What's fascinating is how profoundly personal trauma influences universal fate. Isla's barbaric training, Grim's century of self-imposed numbness, Aurora's history of heartbreak. All of these emotional scars are the mechanisms by which prophecy operates.
And the sources suggest that destiny isn't just something that happens to you, but something you are constantly crafting through every single choice, even when your heart is hopelessly divided between duty, love, and self-preservation.
And we organize the immense complexity of these artifacts, infinite, the diamond bound by flawed but bleeding love.
The threads of time, the paradoxical key to breaking or saving the universe.
Cronin's shattered crown, his vulnerability, and now the final necessary piece, the Heartblade.
The stage is set for an inevitable tragedy. The prophecy is about a blade through a heart. Both Grim and Oro have now proven, through their actions and their willingness to risk universal consequences, that they love Isla enough to risk their own death for her. Their past choices have led them to this moment.
The ultimate provocative thought for you, the listener, is this. Given that Grim is now a dangerous, amnesiac enemy again, and Isla knows Ora's art is torn between her and his duty to Lightlark, what kind of choice will Isla make now that she's the only one with all the knowledge? What is the real purpose of the Heartblade? Is the act of wielding the blade more important than the heart it ultimately pierces? Does the prophecy mean sacrificing a loved one or sacrificing the self? That knowledge is the final piece of the puzzle you now carry.